Good morning, America. Breaking overnight, healthcare showdown. The Republicans' debate continues after a setback vote overnight, hours after John McCain's dramatic return to Capitol Hill. The president pressures Republicans, defends himself.
With the exception of the late, great Abraham Lincoln, I can be more presidential than any president that's ever held this office.
And he rails against his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. Now Trump's former campaign manager, who was just on Air Force One, joins us live.
An ABC News exclusive. The family at the center of that vacation tragedy speaking out for the first time.
How do two people at the same exact time just pass out in the pool?
Searching for answers after their 20-year-old daughter's mysterious death after drinking at a Mexican resort. Now her brother revealing new details about what they were served.
The dramatic escape. Newly released cell phone video showing the moment 3 convicts make a daring jailbreak, crawling through pipes, even giving a thumbs up before they were finally caught.
And who's this supposed to be? Beyonce fans outraged over her wax figure. The museum revamping it, why the Beehive is still not crazy in love.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
Oh boy, we do say good morning, America. So they revamped it, and not a whole lot better there.
Yeah, the fans are still saying, hold up. That is not exactly looking like Queen Bee, but maybe there's a reason behind it.
Very bright light.
That's it. Could be.
As bright as it can be. We're going to get more on that later, but we have 2 big stories out of Washington this morning. That healthcare showdown, setback overnight for Senate Republicans. Their latest plan to repeal and replace Obamacare defeated just hours after John McCain's dramatic return to Washington to kick off the debate. And President Trump continues to campaign against his own Attorney General, unleashing more unprecedented attacks, but refusing so far to fire him. We're going to talk to Trump's close political advisor, Corey Lewandowski, who was on Air Force One with the president last night. First, our congressional correspondent, Mary Bruce, is on Capitol Hill with all the latest on health care. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. The healthcare fight is now playing out right here on the Senate floor. Senators are in the thick of this debate, but deep divisions remain. And this morning, they still don't have a solution that has the votes to pass. Overnight at a campaign rally in Ohio, the president tried to rally Republicans to repeal and replace Obamacare.
For 7 years, every Republican running for office promised to repeal and replace this disastrous law. Now they must keep their promise.
As Republicans work to fulfill that promise, the president with a warning.
Any senator who votes against repeal and replace is telling America that they are fine with the Obamacare nightmare.
But this morning, they still haven't come up with a health care bill that has the support to pass.
The motion is not agreed to.
Overnight, another setback. The latest bill to repeal and replace Obamacare failing on the floor. The plan Republicans spent weeks crafting, dead just hours after they voted to open debate. With health care reform on the line, John McCain Tuesday made a dramatic return to Capitol Hill. Less than a week after being diagnosed with brain cancer, he received a bipartisan embrace and a thunderous standing ovation, and then delivered a stunning wake-up call to his colleagues.
Let's trust each other. Let's return to regular order. We're getting nothing done, my friends. We're getting nothing done.
Republicans aren't giving up this health care fight, but its future is now unclear. And this is now a freewheeling process here that could go on for days. Senators are debating and voting on various amendments as they try to cobble together a consensus here and rewrite Obamacare. The options: come up with some way to repeal and replace, just repeal, or aim for something that's even more narrow. But Robin, this morning, none of the above has enough support to pass.
It does seem that way. Okay, Mary, thank you. Now to that fallout between President Trump and his Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The president leaving open the possibility that he will fire him. Our chief White House correspondent, John Carl, is in Washington, has all those details for us. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Robin. The president has made it clear that he is so disappointed with his attorney general that firing him remains on the table, although this morning Jeff Sessions is showing absolutely no signs of stepping down. After days of unprecedented attacks on his own attorney general, the president dismissed criticism at the rally in Ohio that he's been off message and unpresidential.
Sometimes they say he doesn't act presidential. And I say, hey, look, great schools, smart guy. It's so easy to act presidential, but that's not going to get it done. With the exception of the late, great Abraham Lincoln, I can be more presidential than any president that's ever held this office.
But just hours earlier, the president was publicly seething over Attorney General Jeff Sessions and his decision to recuse himself from the Russia investigation.
If he was going to recuse himself, he should have told me prior to taking office, and I would have quite simply picked somebody else.
The president accused Sessions of hurting the institution of the presidency and refused to rule out firing him.
We will see what happens. Time will tell. Time will tell.
The president's attacks have not sat well with Sessions' former colleagues in Congress.
I think he made the right decision to recuse himself from the Russia matter.
Jeff has been very loyal to the president, and I think he deserves loyalty back.
And ABC News has learned that top Trump ally Newt Gingrich made a personal intervention with the president on Tuesday to try to smooth things over. Gingrich late yesterday said that Sessions was one of the president's most loyal supporters, again reiterating that firing him would be a mistake. But he also warned, Robin, that this story is not yet finished.
Also not finished, the Russian investigation, John. Jared Kushner has now been up on Capitol Hill twice to talk about that meeting with a Russian lawyer last June. But where do things stand with the president's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, and the president's son, Don Jr.?
Manafort was actually quietly on the Hill in closed sessions yesterday, meeting with the Senate Intelligence Committee. Both men, both he and Don Jr., have agreed to cooperate with congressional investigators. We expect to see Don Jr. on the Hill sometime in the coming weeks, Robin.
All right, John, thank you.
Okay, Robin, let's talk now to Corey Lewandowski. He was President Trump's campaign manager, close political advisor. Now, Corey, thanks for joining us this morning. You just heard Newt Gingrich there, John, talking about Newt Gingrich, the other senators. Senator Sessions was the first senator to endorse Donald Trump. He's been one of his most loyal, steadfast supporters. Why is the president humiliating him like this?
Well, George, I don't think he's humiliating Jeff Sessions. And as you know, when Donald Trump went down to Mobile, Alabama, and put 45,000 people in a football stadium in August of 2015, I think Jeff saw the movement and decided to endorse then candidate Trump and now President Trump. And it was a smart decision for Jeff Sessions.
Well, hold on
There's
a
no
second,
question
Corey.
about
You're
it.
really changing your tune right there. All through the campaign, you talked about what a stand-up guy Jeff Sessions was for coming out when no one else would and endorsing Donald Trump at that time. In the last week, President Trump has called Sessions weak. He's called him beleaguered. He said he was unfair to the presidency. He even demeaned that endorsement to the Wall Street Journal. He's carrying out a public campaign against his own attorney general. Why is he doing that?
Well, the president's been very clear about this, George, and what he said was if he would have known that Jeff Sessions was going to recuse himself from the Russia investigation, then he would have looked at having an attorney general who was not going to recuse himself, because the question was, why wasn't that information known ahead of time? And it's clearly the president's prerogative to decide on who serves as the Attorney General of the United States with advice and consent of the Senate, clearly. But this is very, very important. The question remains, what is Robert Mueller continuing to investigate? Is he investigating some alleged tie between the Trump campaign and the Russian government? Because if that's the case, no agency, whether it is the Republicans or Democrats in the House or the Senate, have come up with any evidence
Corey,
whatsoever that there's been any collusion.
You just made the connection there between this and Robert Mueller, and that's fueling a lot of suspicion among a lot of people. They believe the president wants to have an attorney general there who will be in charge of the Russia investigation, who will be in charge of Robert Mueller, who will have the ability to fire Robert Mueller. Is that the president's motivation here?
Well, if the president wants to fire Robert Mueller, by all accounts, he has a legal authority to do so. And he could have done that on day one. He could have done it today.
Actually,
he could do it anytime
Corey,
he wants to.
that's not true. Right now, it's the acting attorney general, Rod Rosenstein, who has that authority.
Oh, no. George, you're wrong. The president has a legal authority to fire Robert Mueller if he wants to. Now, Robert Mueller reports to Rod Rosenstein, but Rod Rosenstein could also be terminated. Look, the Constitution is very clear. The president, as the chief executive officer of this country, has the ability to hire and fire executives who work for him, and that would be the case with either Rod Rosenstein, if he chose to, and he's not doing that, or Robert Mueller. It's very clear the president has the ability to do that. Robert Mueller reports to Rod Rosenstein because Jeff Sessions has recused himself.
If the president is unhappy with the attorney general, and he's been saying that day after day after day after day, why doesn't he sit down with him man to man, face to face, and have it out?
Look, I think the president is going to have that conversation with Senator Sessions. And to Jeff's credit, there are things that he's been doing, particularly with the Justice Department cracking down on MS-13, preventing additional border crossings and enforcing the laws. That's very important to the president. And I know that the president's thankful for the work that Jeff has done in that regard.
You say the president's going to sit down and talk with him. He began this public campaign last week in the New York Times. I think that was last Wednesday. We're now a week away from that. The president has not sat down with him, has not spoken with him, yet he continues to attack him every single day. When the president fired you, to his credit and to your credit, you sat down with him. It was face to face. He did it. Why isn't he doing it here?
Well, I don't think anybody has said that the president's going to or not going to fire Jeff Sessions. What the president has said, look, let's wait and see. And at some point, if the president decides to make a decision, it's going to be a decision that is thought out. It has been thought through, and there will be a plan in place if that's the way the president wants to go. But as of right now, like most other things, the speculation and conjecture about what the president is going to do, and Jeff Sessions remains the attorney general.
It's the president who's fueling that speculation and conjecture. And isn't this the situation really now the worst of both worlds for the president? He's got Sessions still in the job, and the president looks weak because his own cabinet member is defying him by staying in that job despite what the president is saying.
Oh, I don't think the president looks weak at all. Look, I think if anything, the president looks stronger than any previous administration that we've seen. Look, here's the difference. The difference is if you go back and look at previous administrations, you know, what you've seen is attorneys general who have been held in contempt of Congress and have basically just disregarded that contempt. When Congress has asked the former attorneys general to prosecute people or to hold them in contempt, they've completely dismissed that. The difference here is Donald Trump is letting Jeff Sessions do his job and letting Robert Mueller do his job. That's what the president's supposed to do.
I guess he's letting Jeff Sessions do his job while attacking him every single day. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today, Corey, but thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Robin?
You bring up an excellent point and one that many have. Why not face-to-face instead of online, have a meeting face-to-face? And either way, just work it out that way. We're going to turn now to that severe weather. Flash flooding across the country, rescues in the southwest overnight, more rain coming for the already soaked Midwest. Ginger, you know, is following it all for us. Good morning, Ginger.
Good morning, Robin. Imagine being in Las Vegas, Nevada, and driving up to this. The signs in the road are just rushing down with that water. You had more than a half-inch fall in 15 minutes, and that is how you get that result. In parts of northern Arizona, you also saw human chains forming again, trying to save some of those folks that have made their way into those waters, those huge waves rushing over them. And now we're talking about flash flood potential for the area already so hard hit. Very heavy rains and slow-moving storms moving through. Flash flood watches that take us through Iowa, parts of western Illinois, and northern Missouri. This area has had more than 3 times their July average already, and more to come. Robin?
All right, Ginger, thanks so much.
And now we're going to go to a troubling new study about the risk of brain injury in football. Researchers are finding that among the brains of 111 former NFL players donated to science, nearly all showed signs of a brain disease known as CTE. And ABC's Paula Ferris is here with the details. And Paula, the study shows it's not just professional athletes who are at risk.
You're right, Michael. You mentioned all but one of the former NFL players had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. But according to this new study, high school players showed signs of the disease, as did a staggering 91% of college players. This morning, an unprecedented new study raising red flags, suggesting CTE could be more common in football than once believed. The numbers are staggering. The American Medical Association studied the brains of 202 deceased football players from all levels who had shown signs of CTE when they were alive. 87% had the disease. And among former NFL players, all but one had the disease.
Essentially, this says it's a problem for football. It's a problem at all levels, at high school and above. And we need to now look for ways to detect it in living people, and most importantly, to treat it in living people.
This new research coming just 7 months after the NFL finalized a nearly $1 billion class action lawsuit by former players who claim they suffered traumatic brain injuries during their careers. The roster of deceased players who suffered from CTE, including Frank Gifford, and Dave Duerson and Junior Seau, who both committed suicide. The NFL telling ABC News it's tackling the situation both on the field and off by supporting scientific research and advancing progress in the prevention and treatment of head injuries, a sentiment NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell expressed to Robin last year.
We've had 40 different rule changes that are all designed on making the game safer. We've invested in equipment changes. We're seeing safety changes to the turf, which I think will help on impacts, including head impacts on the turf.
Now, we have to mention this study only looked at players who were exhibiting signs of CTE while they were alive. That is a substantial caveat. But just this week, NFL player David Bruton retired. He walked away from the game saying, quote, "I'd like to have my brain functioning when I'm older." But Michael, we talked about this for so many professional players out there. They accept the data, they accept the risk, continue to play, because for them, just imagining a life without football isn't a life at all.
A life without football, and for a lot of guys, this is their way out of
Is this the kind of thing you guys talked about a lot when you were playing, or not really?
No, you don't talk about it, George. And I'm pretty sure if there was something that could show you if you had it while you were living, if there is a test that they could do that, I don't know how many would actually take it.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's almost, don't know, just keep on going.
You wouldn't want to know.
I wouldn't want to know. But if I don't know your names when I show up here one day, then we know.
That's the test.
That's the test.
Now, Amy has the morning's other top story, starting with new concerns about North Korea.
That's right. Good morning, guys. And North Korea may be closer than we thought to developing a nuclear missile that can reach the United States. The Washington Post is reporting a Pentagon assessment has determined the North Koreans are making surprising progress, and there is a possibility that Kim Jong-un could have an intercontinental nuclear missile by as early as next year. There are new tensions between the U.S. and Iran after a Navy ship fired warning shots at this Iranian patrol boat in the Persian Gulf. The Navy says the Iranian boat came dangerously close. Iran is accusing the U.S. of trying to provoke a fight. Well, back here in this country, a hostage drama on the Las Vegas Strip is over this morning with the suspect in custody. Police say William Etheridge held up a bank, stole $19,000, and then took 3 hostages. They say they captured him when he tried to buy a motorcycle at the Harley-Davidson dealership there on the Strip. Thankfully, the hostages are all okay. And Apple may be closer to using the tagline "Made in America." President Trump tells the Wall Street Journal Apple has promised to build 3 manufacturing plants right here in the U.S. He did not say when, and no comment yet from Apple. And a very special birthday party invitation for a police officer 1 year after he saved the day for a family in Texas. Deputy Mark Diebold sat down, look at that picture, for tea with 1-year-old Evelyn Hall. He delivered her a year ago in a gas station parking lot when her parents couldn't make it to the hospital in time. You can see the two bonded and had a great time clinking cups. It's very cute. The entire family calls Officer Diebold Uncle Mark.
He looked very comfortable.
Yes.
Not his first team party.
Thank you.
You did a great job there.
Let's go back to Ginger.
That same system that is threatening the Midwest with that flash flooding, going to do damaging wind potential from Kansas City to Moline today, and then it slides east, and I have to show you this huge area for Thursday from Memphis through Paducah all the way here to New York City and Philadelphia. Your local weather in 30 seconds. First, though, the hot cities brought to you by Mazda.
We asked premium vehicle owners to judge 3 premium sedans, not knowing the brands.
It is quite responsive, intuitive.
High quality craftsmanship.
The stitching adds a level of refinement. I like the aggressive sculptural lines.
Wow.
I've always trusted Mazda.
I like driving this car the best.
Discover a smarter premium at the Driver's Choice event.
Now get 0% financing and 1,000 APR cash plus no payments for 90 days for all new 2017 Mazda sedans.
Well, today is going to feel nice, but we could see some spotty sprinkles around our area today. Nothing too heavy. Temperatures will top out only about 84, 85 degrees, and then get ready for some higher heat tomorrow. That is going to be fuel for some thunderstorms across the area. Right now, it looks as though our big weather alert day might be Friday, as we'll get more rain, even the possibility of some flooding and some damaging winds through the area. For the weekend, that rain could linger, but the weekend will feel much better overall. 90 Thursday.
It's chilly here, but it's going to be 110 in some places in the plains. I'm going to show you that in a couple of minutes.
Heating up.
Yeah.
All right, Ginger, thank you. Coming up, that ABC News exclusive, the family of the young woman who died in a Mexican resort's pool is speaking out for the first time.
And the dramatic jailbreak caught on camera, the newly released tape revealing how 3 inmates made their big escape.
COPD makes it hard to breathe.
So to breathe better, I go with a Nora.
COPD tries to say go